Hi, my name is Clay Nelson, and I'd like to welcome you to Argentine Tango for Absolute Beginners. Before we get into the instructional part of this tape, there's some basic ideas and concepts that I want to communicate to you because I think it'll give you a better understanding of the nature of Argentine Tango, and I think it'll improve and help your learning of the dance. Usually when a student goes into a dance class or a private lesson or looks at an instructional video, mentally what they're thinking is, I'm going to learn the basic step. Whether it's salsa or foxtrot, they're thinking, teacher, teach me the basic step. And in fact, that's generally what the teacher is also thinking. I'm going to present to the student the basic step of this dance. However, I'd like to convince you that to think that way for Argentine Tango really doesn't make a lot of sense. And a good analogy is that learning Argentine Tango is in many ways like learning a foreign language. And if you were to study Russian or German, to ask the teacher right away, what is the basic sentence in Russian or what is the basic sentence in German, really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What you really would like to do or learn is this very structure of the language. That is, you would like to learn the vocabulary and the grammatical structure and rules. So then you, instead of just repeating given sentences over and over, you actually improvise within the language. And that's precisely the way you want tango to be. Whereas in, say, learning foxtrot, you may learn a whole pattern, which is like memorizing a sentence. In tango, you want to learn the individual pieces of vocabulary or elements of the dance. And then you want to put these elements together in a way that creates kind of a communication with you and your partner. So tango really is improvisational. Just as I'm speaking to you now and I'm improvising as I speak, when you dance tango, ultimately you want it to be like a conversation and you want to improvise. It also means that tango has a great deal of variety. There's many different styles of dancing tango. And there's many different techniques and methods for teachers to use in teaching tango. There's not just one way. I encourage you to take lessons from as many different teachers as you can. However, as a beginner, don't be frustrated because you walk into a class or you look at another instructional video and you see it's quite different than what you might see in this instructional video. It doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. It just means that it's a different approach to the same dance. So don't get frustrated by that aspect of tango, but accept all of these different approaches, and eventually you'll put it together and you will create a dance which is really appropriate for your own personality. Also, tango, because it becomes like a communication or a physical communication between generally a man and a woman, it becomes a very intense and emotional dance. And I hope by the time you go through this video and you study tango for a while, that you learn to love and appreciate tango as much as I do and as much as many other people do. And then in fact, if you ever come to the Northwest, I hope you join us and come dancing tango with us. But I often kiddingly tell my students, be careful, if you have an addictive personality, be careful of tango because it can be addictive. But on the other hand, it's a very healthy addiction. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you. Welcome to section 1, and this section covers basic concepts, elements, and basic vocabulary. Again, my name is Clay, and this is my partner, Megan Pingree. The first and most important concept in tango is the embrace. That is how we hold our partner while we're dancing. There are two basic kinds of embraces that we use, and one is the open embrace, which looks like this, and this is pretty much a standard dance frame or dance embrace. A couple of items is that if we look at our feet, and we're going to turn at a little angle here, is that we are offset to our partner. In other words, my right foot is pointing between her right toe, and her right foot is pointing between my two shoes. So we're slightly offset from one another. My left hand, as I make a V, she curls the fingers through that V, and I don't clamp too hard, but I just curl the fingers over. And we keep this hand in a neutral area, that is shoulder height. If you're different height shoulders, just compromise. And please don't let the arm come back. That's very hard for the woman's shoulder. Or don't dance men with your shoulder back like this. Keep it between your bodies in the middle area. Now the man's right hand, gentlemen, I suggest that you put the fingers together and place it right on her back like this. It looks much better than splayed out like this. Keep the fingers together. And Megan's going to talk about her left hand.
My left arm, one way to think about this is to just let this arm drop so that there's contact here in my forearm, upper arm in his hand, and then lift my arm here. So that there's contact, we want contact all along here. I'm not grabbing, I'm definitely not putting my hand here on the shoulder like that, and I'm not doing a clamp right there. But we want contact so that we might be able to even move in closer and slide around if the vocabulary that we're dancing requires that.
Okay, so that's the open embrace. The close embrace, which is really what we're striving for in tango and really gives the nice feel to Argentine tango, looks like this. Now let's talk about how we got there. Again, we're close, but not with the feet, because the tendency for beginners is to get the feet too close, and then you're bumping knees and you're bumping feet, and you got all kinds of problems, and it makes it very difficult. We still keep space, maybe 6 inches between our feet. And we keep our body very straight. The tendency for beginners many times is try to make contact so they lean forward with their heads, like this. Or they say they want to get forward, so they lean forward like this, bending at the waist. Do neither one. Bend at the ankles. Keep the body straight and bend at the ankles, like this. It's a very comfortable, nice position, very relaxed. But there's a couple other little tricks. I prefer that we don't dance straight on. Although some people teach it this way, I still offset myself, and not only do we offset a little bit to each other's right, but I turn my body a little to my left. She rotates her body a little to the right, and then she comes forward and makes contact on my right side by rotating my upper body, not my feet, but my upper body to the right. She makes contact on my right side and just to the center of her body. That makes it much easier then to bring my right arm, let's rotate a little bit, bring my right arm all the way around her body, like so.
And I lift up my arm, the opening in the shoulder here,
This is very important for the woman to be able to open this side.
so that I can comfortably reach my arm around him. Of course, this is going to vary from one partner to the next. It's important to find a comfortable place.
If there's a big height difference and the man's really high, the woman's not going to be able to do that. So make whatever's comfortable. But generally, this is the way we would like the lady's hand to come all the way around here to the shoulder. My right arm goes all the way around, and then the other two hands, my left and her right, is pretty much the same as in the open embrace. So those are the two embraces, the open embrace and the close embrace.
Just a note about where the follower's head goes in close embrace. Again, the comfort is the main key. Usually it's most comfortable to just look over his shoulder this way. But sometimes like this is fine too. But it's important to find whatever's comfortable, as long as you're keeping your head at the top of your spine and not bending it somehow in order to try to accommodate an awkward pose.
Or sometimes you can change in the middle of dance. As I was going to say, when I'm dancing, I like close embrace, but while I'm dancing, sometimes I'll open up to an open position to do a more difficult step, finish that step, and then go back into a close embrace. So that's the first element to learn, is this embrace. The second one is learning to synchronize your feet. And what we mean by that is that when we take the embrace, but we're going to actually do it I'm going to do it with the hands here on the shoulders, so I have a lot of space. When we take the embrace and the music starts playing, the first thing that I do, even if it's a very advanced dancer and I've danced with her before, I change weight from side to side, as I'm doing now. It's a very subtle movement, but I'm shifting my weight from my right foot to my left. Now, if she would close her eyes, she can feel the shifting of my weight. She doesn't have to see it, she doesn't have to hear it, she feels it just by the motion of my body changing that little distance. And she says, ah, he's changing weight, I change weight with him. What we're doing right now is an excellent thing to practice. Practice it in this practice position with the hands here, practice it in the open position, practice it in the close embrace. Just walking in place. And this walking in place is what I call the first element, or the first piece of vocabulary, and is the most basic, learning to walk in place and synchronize your feet. The second element, well, really the third item in this section, is learning to walk forward and backwards. Generally, the leader, because he's leading and looking out for where you're going, is walking forward. The follower is generally walking backwards. Walking forward's, of course, easier. Just make it a natural walk. I prefer just making it natural where I'm landing with my heel first, not my toe. Walking backwards, however, is a little bit more difficult. So, Megan's going to talk about that.
The tango walk for the follower involves extending my free leg back along the floor from the hip, or sometimes I even think of it as coming from the rib cage, although I don't want to get into an overextended position like that. But sending my leg back along the floor, my foot stays on the floor. The ball of my toe, anyway, stays on the floor, and my heel is down. As opposed to, say, bending my knee, lifting up my heel, taking my toe off the floor, and stepping back like that.
That kind of action is what a lot of beginners do,
Like this.
and particularly when you're close, if you find yourself bending knees or hitting knees, that could be part of the problem.
So follower is with this leg extended straight, reach it back along the floor. And that leg goes back before I transfer any weight to it. I don't transfer the weight until he leaves that, and then I step on it. And the next leg extends back, and I step. Extend, step, extend, step.
So now we want to get from this walking in place to the walking forward and back. And that has to be led. We like to dance, or I like to dance, with the follower having her eyes closed. So obviously she's not seeing when I'm taking that step. She has to feel when I take that step. And that means that I have to let her know before I take the step. Otherwise, if I take the step, I might step on her toe. So what it means is, let's do this in open embrace. What it means is I have to move my upper body first. Well, actually, I do two things. First of all, let's say I'm going to step with my left foot. That's the one closest to you. I'm going to step with my left foot, but if I take the step without letting her know, I'll step on her toe. So I do two things. I put my weight on my right and I flex the knees slightly, just slightly. And then I lead with the upper body. And look, she's already going. I haven't taken the step. And this is essential, leaders, that you let her go first, make sure she's going, and then you go with her. Once you get it rolling, then you just keep walking. So this is the third item in the list, walking forward and backwards. Here it is in close embrace. As always, she closes her eyes, the music's playing, we synchronize feet. I lead from the upper body first. I flex a little bit, and we go. Step, 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 step. Good. The fourth element in this sequence is the side steps. It's just exactly what you would expect. Let's do this in open embrace. Walking in place, synchronizing the feet, and then we take a side step, and it can go either way. To the left, or right, or the other way. Now, let me talk a little bit about the lead and follow. It looks easy, but when you try it, sometimes she'll go backwards and you're wanting to go sideways, or she's on the wrong foot. Not really the wrong foot, maybe the leader's on the wrong foot. So, synchronizing our feet, and before I take a step, I always do a little flex. No, not a little. When I'm going to the side, I take a deeper flex. I lead her to the side, and I go with her. And I walk in place again.
And he leads me to the side by indicating with his upper body that that's where he's going. I feel a sort of a pre-lead that is going that way as opposed to this way, and that's how I know to go that way, not that way.
Okay, let's try this in close embrace. Walk in place, synchronize. I'm going to take a side step, so I take a little deeper flex, and lead her to my side. Walk in place. I'm going to go to my right, that's towards the fireplace. I flex on the knee closest to you and take a big side step. Good. Element number 5 is walking outside your partner. And what we mean by this is, so far, everything we've done is I've walked straight in front of my partner like this. But in this case, I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to step outside on her right. Let me go back and do it in the dance position. So I'm walking in place, I'm walking along, and I decide to do an outside step. Boom, right there. There it is again. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the lead and the follow. As I take a step forward with my left foot, right here, instead of stepping directly in front of her, I open a little space and kind of give a little indication that I'm going to move out to the side. I don't know if you can see that. I've stepped a little bit out to give myself space to walk over here. As I take that step on my right foot going forward, I rotate my shoulders this way because when I come on the outside, I want to have my upper body still aimed towards her. If we didn't rotate our shoulders, we would be like this, and we kind of say we lose the connection. We rotate the upper bodies towards each other to maintain that connection. Do you want to say anything about that?
I like to think of it sometimes as having receptors and senders, transponders or something in the chest, and we try to keep them so that interlocking signals can happen, so that we kind of lock into each other, so that there, we're still in contact, the contact is still there.
Okay, I want to say something else about the lady's footwork right there. If I'm stepping not outside, she steps more straight back. But when I step outside, she has a tendency to step more behind the other foot, which is exactly what you want. It just feels nicer. Okay, let's demonstrate this then. Close embrace. So I'm walking in place, walking along, I do a little preparation. I have to have a lot of body motion or rotation in order to maintain the contact. There's the step outside. And I continue on. Let's do it going the other way. Okay? And then finally, the last element, basic element in tango is called the cruzada. And the cruzada is a little bit tricky, but it is really the signature step of Argentine tango. What is happening in the cruzada is that the woman, we're walking along, and I step outside, and she crosses like this. This is the cruzada. Let's talk a little bit. Well, let me just demonstrate an open position, then we'll talk a little bit more of the lead. So this is just a little demonstration of the cruzada. Okay, let's talk about the lead, the follow, and what's happening there. I do a walk outside, which was one of the previous elements that you just learned. There's my step outside. Remember I said I rotate my shoulders towards her. Now if I want to do a cruzada, she might have her eyes closed. She feels the lead in two different ways. First of all, I continue with the space in my feet. Let's turn this way a little bit. If I was not going to lead a cruzada, I would step back here. But if I am going to lead a cruzada, I step a little bit more away from her, and I maintain this rotation of our shoulders this way. And this makes it just natural for her then to back and go across in this manner. And then out. Okay?
And for the follower, at the moment of the cross, or during the cross, as we get right here, it's important that I not turn my hips open and cross this way with my toe and my knee going first. This is not what we're looking for. Instead, what we're looking for is simply drawing my heel first in front of the other foot, as close to it as I can get, and change weight completely onto it so that I'm ready to go with my right what next?
Okay, we're going to dance these, well, 5 elements plus the embrace. Let me get the music started here. So I'll demonstrate everything in open embrace,